Committee of the Whole is called back to order. We're going to proceed on now to Chapter 12, Miscellaneous Provisions. On the First Amendment is TTT-L25 P147. Senator Tideway, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, what this does is it just restores that the Judicial Client Service Fund continue on. By law, Mr. Chair, the Client Service Fund funds 4 different areas. One is the PAP. It also funds the Erica's House. It funds the marshals. It funds also the interpreters. It is by law. And until we know the status on the Public Defender's Office and their situation, that we maintain this Client Service Fund to cover any shortfalls for the PAP. So I'm just restoring it back, Mr. Chair, to continue, not excluding, but okay. Let me just read it for everyone. So authorization to fund operational shortfalls. The Unified Judiciary of Guam is authorized to fund any operational shortfalls from any fund source under its control, excluding the Judicial Clients Fund, because like I said, it's by law. It's already in the law on what it's supposed to cover. And the funds held in trust. Transfer from the Judicial Fund must be consistent with the covenants and provisions of the law documents Unified Judiciary and its leader. And that's my amendment, Mr. Chair.
On the Tideway Amendment, any comments? Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Yeah, I guess a question for the proffered amendment. Is this a substantive change, and was it heard in a public hearing?
Senator Tideway, you yield to the question?
This, when we were talking about Bill 97 on the independence of the Public Service Corporation, and it was heard on the bill that was passed, maintained the Judicial Client Service Fund in Bill 97. That was passed by this body unanimously. And I'm just restoring it back because it belongs there, and it's also by law. So I hope I answered your question.
Senator Perez, did she answer your question?
You're asking if it's substantial and on the payment of the PAP?
No, if it was a substantial change or?
It's just reviving it back into what the Unified Judiciary Courts of Guam are allowed to use funding for, and this particular excluding the Judicial Clients Fund means it stays within what the law was implemented for, to cover those 4 areas that I said earlier.
Okay, so basically.
But they can't touch it for anything else except what is in law.
All right, I think I understand. Thank you.
Anyone else on the Tideway Amendment? Senator Tideway, you'd like to close?
No, I just ask for your support and maintain what the law is already in place and maintain what was in the bill that was passed by Speaker Bloss and myself. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the Tideway Amendment, any objections? There's an objection. All those in favor of the Tideway Amendment, please signify by raising your hand.
This was agreed upon in the, this was agreed upon.
Amendment fails. Next amendment, TTT-L1-8 P149. Senator Tideway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also in there, and staying to the intention of what we're trying to do and maintain that the Client Service Fund of the Judiciary maintains with the private attorney panel at this time. So the Judiciary, and I'm striking out this, the Judiciary of Guam shall continue to provide annual funding for legal services rendered to the private attorney panel, which by law is required, and under the Client Service Fund. So I'm striking out that and other expenses incurred before October 2025, provided such services are billed no later than December 31st, 2025 to the Public Service Corporation of the Judicial Client Service Fund as cited in 902, Chapter 9.6, Title 7 Guam Code, annotated. Mr. Chair, By doing this, taking away this funding for the private attorney panel, that leaves that fund standing dormant. Now, the fund funds 4 different things, as I mentioned. The private attorney panel, which is about $1.4 million. Then you have Erica's house at $32,000. Then you have the, I believe the interpreters, they probably around $10,000, $15,000. Then you have the Marshall scenario at $15,000. That's leaving $1.4 million left in this account. And this account cannot pay by law anything else but these 4 things. So I'm just striking this out to allow the client service fund to maintain being able to do what it was supposed to do. This law was actually created by Governor, well, at the time, Felix Camacho. And then it was confirmed by Frank Guåhan. So you got both sides of the party saying the importance of, this amendment and keeping this in place. So I ask my colleagues for their support.
Thank you. On the Tadigui Amendment, Ranking Member Muñoz-Barnes, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm going to respectfully object to this amendment, and I'm going to do this primarily because it is contrary to the advice we have been given by 2 reputable legal experts. Colleagues, on August 12, I received a letter from Attorney Steve Vittori, the Executive Director of the Public Defenders, who referenced a letter from the 6th Amendment Center, which advised the chairwoman on the Committee on Justice that Guam should not continue to fund the PAP through fines and fees, which is the current funding source shouldered by the courts, the Judicial Client Services Fund. In their July 24th letter, the 6th Amendment Center wrote, alternative funding revenue generated from alternative sources, such as fines and fees, does not work as a primary source of indigent defense funding because there is no correlation between the resources needed to provide effective indigent defense services and funding raised through alternative means. Alternative funding puts the defender system at risk because the amount raised each year may fluctuate widely. The actual revenues cannot be easily projected. The fees frequently fall disparately on a particular segment of the population, and the cost of the administration of these systems are inordinately high. As such, systems based on user fees or taxes should be avoided. Funds for defense services are best allocated from general revenues. Attorney Hattori concurred, writing to me, saying that the 6th Amendment Center's independent evaluation made clear that the PAP could not remain under the judiciary without risking the independence of defense services. This amendment would continue the current policy of the judiciary funding the PAP through the fines and fees the court collects, which again, according to the 6th Amendment Center, puts the private attorney panel at risk. Once again, colleagues, the center wrote to the oversight chair, systems based on user fees or taxes should be avoided. Funds for defense services are best allocated from general revenues. So I do ask my colleagues to respectfully reject this amendment because it ignores the best advice we have been given on how to best protect our people's constitutional right to counsel when on trial by the state. So I respectfully do not support the amendment as proffered. Sanamasi.
Any other? Senator Gumatato, you're recognized on the
Yes, thank you,
amendment.
Mr. Chair. I also rise or object to the amendment. There was an agreement from our sister branch to sunset this provision. Striking out would require the judiciary Guam to fund this indefinitely. I think our good colleague from Manilao and her amendment earlier in this proceedings is already supporting the private attorney panel. Again, I just want to say I just arise in objection to the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else wish to speak on the Tidy Amendment. Senator Tidy, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
You know, I understand the situation with regards to what the Sixth Amendment was claiming in their report, in their almost 120-page report, which I read. You know, I worked on this, I worked on the bill along with the speaker, and the funding source was very important for the PAP, for the Public Defender's Office. And by law, there has been no repeal of the law on how to use the Public Service Fund. And there was nothing saying that it has to be done where it's independently, not independently, but the funding must come from not fees or fines. Because in other jurisdictions, it has. They make a recommendation that it's separate and apart. So my colleagues, when you hear them say that, make that recommendation to take away from funding that was generated to pay for the PAP, then this body has to appropriate it. Every year, appropriate the funds. So now that's added on to our plate. So I hope by next term, or next budget session, that money comes out of the judicial branch to pay for it. Because now we just inherited, this body inherited $1.5 million in PAP. That's why that client service fund was put together, so that it can support attorneys for the indigent individuals who need to be taken care of, and to provide an attorney for them. So, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Attorney, it's late. Okay. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I thank you for the opportunity to explain this and explain what we just inherited now for this body to pay for next year.
Thank you, Senator Tidy. There's been an objection to the Tidy Amendment. All those in favor of the Tidy Amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment fails. Next amendment, VAB L17 P150. Senator Guåhan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the amendment that I'm proffering today was, after a discussion with GDOE in regards to just some of the barriers in spending, their appropriation. And so today I'm asking my colleagues to support this amendment that's going to increase the small dollar threshold to $250,000. It's no secret that GDOE faces delays because of the procurement process. It's long, it's complicated. It slows down repairs, even just getting small basic classroom supplies. This amendment will allow the department to move faster and respond to urgent needs without having to be stuck in red tape. Again, Mr. Chair, this doesn't mean we're trying to lower accountability. It still requires them to get 3 written quotes where possible and submit quarterly reports to the legislature. This amendment hopefully strikes a balance. It empowers GDOE to act quickly when urgency demands it, while still holding them accountable to the public. Our teachers, schools, most importantly, our students cannot afford delays, Mr. Chair. And so, colleagues, this is about efficiency, accountability, and helping GDOE spend the money that they get every year, and I ask for your support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On the Guåhan Amendment, Senator Sinaga, Sr., recognized.
Mr. Chair, Vice Speaker, maybe the author may want to comment to this. With the size of DOE, I understand the 250, but maybe it needs to be higher, because when they're going to go out and buy things, they're not just buying it for one school. Maybe the small purchase allowance should be at least $500,000, because on many occasions, DOE, when they find that it's 2 or 3 schools have the similar items they need, hate to see them keep going in and out just to get 250, and when 500,000. And I'm going to propose that amendment. It's I just don't have it written, but if it can be annotated that 250 be 500,000.
So you're proffering an amendment?
Yes, I'm proffering that amendment, but I need to go get it written if you want to recess.
We're just changing the amount from 250.
That's correct,
Okay.
250 to 500, and hopefully the
Yeah, we'll
oversight
just do
chair
it
will agree.
technical, yes. So if you want to make that amendment to the amendment?
Yes,
Okay, from 250 to 500,000?
that's correct, sir.
So on the San Augustine amendment to the amendment, moving the not to exceed $500,000. Any objections? No objections. Amendment to the amendment passes. On the amendment, anyone? Senator Borah, you like to close? Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Perez, I didn't see you there. Sorry.
Yeah. I rise an objection to the amendment as amended. You know, this is, I don't think this is accountable in any way. We're talking about $500,000. At that level, then the AG has to step in to review this. And, you know, this is just for supplies and goods and services, supplies and services. This $500,000 is an inordinate amount of money for supplies. So I know that there was a hearing for increasing the threshold for small purchases. And the testimony that was provided by DOA, the chief procurement officer, was they did a study to see, I guess they quantified what amount was spent at, I guess with the most frequency. They came up with, I think, around $60,000. So it doesn't make sense that we're increasing it to a rate where there isn't a lot of expenditures at that amount. And so I think this would not help DOE, for one thing, because now it's going to be in the AG's court. And secondly, the chief procurement officer testified that when the bill was heard for $250,000, they said it made more sense for a lower amount, higher than $50,000, but yeah, roughly about 60 if I can recall. So this is not accountable in any way. Of course, it's going to make the DOE spend the money faster, but you know, we could be losing value. And we want to get them the best value for their dollar, because dollars are not growing on trees. You know, we are fast losing any type of support from the federal government. And so we need to be more cautious than spending it faster. And it makes me concerned because this is a small purchase. All they need is quotes. They call around, they can get a quote. And protests, it's less visible to companies that can protest this, who are really the watchdogs of government expenditures. So this could put actually GDOE in more harm than help them. So I was the one that amended the small purchase bill law to require that they have positive quotes. And so this could be undoing the accountability that was intended by the law that was passed. And so I think it's not going to help DOE if it's going to be in the AG's court, especially at $500,000. So I ask for, I respectfully object to this amendment as amended.
On the amendment as amended, Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Sidus Masia, Mr. Chair, to rise and speak on the amendment. I agree, $500,000, and you're going to hit that pit stop at the Attorney General's office, which means that these small purchases, I mean, if we could debate $500,000 being a small purchase, they're going to get caught up, and it's going to kind of defeat the purpose. Even at $250,000, Mr. Chair, I mean, I get it. We want to give DOE the flexibility to go out and spend that money, but just read the audits. Even with controls in place, there's still questionable spending, laptops, the air filters from COVID, that, you know, every school got like 5,000 air filters, you know, so I think a smaller amount I would support, maybe anywhere in the $50,000 to $100,000 range, as was said in the public hearing room by the acting chief procurement officer, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to rise and just speak on that. You know, we have the procurement laws in place, and depending on who you talk to, a lot of times when you run into these challenges with the procurement, it's because they're trying to give pari or primo. Not necessarily because of the way the laws are written. We have pretty strong procurement laws, Mr. Chair, and this absolutely opens it up for pari. I love GDOE, but in some cases, the track record of accountability is not always there, Mr. Chair, and I think it would be a little more prudent to amend it down to a smaller amount, but I'm pretty sure there's no will for that in the body. So I just wanted to rise and just speak on the amendment. Si Dios Masi, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Boyman. On the amendment as amended,
I'm going to speak to the amendment, Mr. Chair.
yes, Senator Augustine.
Thank you. You know, Mr. Chair, Vice Speaker, when I introduced the amendment, I wish my colleague would have responded to that. The 500,000 would catch the AG, because then I would have said maybe 450. But when a colleague would tell me, hey, the primus and the paris, I don't know, Guam's too small. Bula plentesu. But tawag na manayo discount mazuda zo, but timanayo zo discount. Maybe hog mananayo discount, but Guam timanayo zo mazuda zo, but my karga huzungi keretaw. But you know what? I understand. If it's going to catch the AG and slow down the process, then even me, I won't agree with that. I didn't realize, if somebody would have said that earlier, the 500 would not have been allowed. It would have been lower. But for some of my colleagues, you may have been a teacher, you may have been the oversight, but I was on the board. And I know for a fact that DOE has a problem of having to buy from multiple schools. Small purchase, obviously small purchase, papiretgui. Toda escuela manecita, small purchase, papiretgui, and everything else. But you know what? I agree with them. The AG would stall it. So I wouldn't even support the amendment further then. But we need to find a way to help DOE. Spend the money so there's no more lapse. So we don't hear the excuses of lapsing. Give them the ability and the opportunity. That's what I was looking for in this purchase. But with the AGs going to stall it, then of course I wouldn't support it. I wouldn't want the AG getting his hand in DOE any further. The OPA, when it comes to accountability, that's why we call him the Office of Public Accountability. Let him do the audit on them and find out what they're messing up on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Augustine. Anyone else on the amendment as amended? Senator Guåhan, you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I amend his amendment? Because
No.
so can I move to reconsider the actions of the body then? Because I agree, 500,000 is it's not going to help GDOE because of the AG. Like that's even they're concerned about that as well, Mr. Chair. So can I move to reconsider the actions of the body in regards to amending the amendment?
So you're making a motion to reconsider the actions of the body on the amended as amended?
Notwithstanding
Notwithstanding the House rules.
Yes.
There's a motion to reconsider, notwithstanding the House rules, there's a motion to reconsider the actions of the body on the amended. Pardon? As amended.
Object.
There's an objection.
Can you call just?
Pardon?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to bring it back. Yeah, please. Point of order, Mr. Chair.
So there's an objection. All those in favor of reconsidering the actions of the body on the amendment as amended, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment, the motion passes. On the motion to amend the amended On the amendment
Mr.
as
Chairman,
amended.
maybe I need to make the motion to withdraw that amendment so that we don't have to move any
that's
further.
better.
Thank you. I'm asked the motion to withdraw the amendment.
So there's a motion to withdraw the amendment as amended. Any objections? No objections. On the amendment, Senator Borja, you'd like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, when we went out to DC, Mr. Chair, you were there with you were there with myself, Senator Calvo, and in the different, from SPED to the liaison to the White House to meeting the education representative for the territories, the common theme in regards to their ask for us as the lawmaking body of Guam was fix your procurement. We take forever to, it's no secret. We return a lot of federal funds. SPED especially, they said, man, we want to help you. Your people are doing great things out there, but you guys can't spend this money as fast as we give it to you. In fact, the comment that was made was when they look at us across compare it to the other territories and other jurisdictions across the United States, they blatantly said we have the worst procurement law, Mr. Chair, and it was something that we need to look into. So this could at least, while we do that, we allow GDOE to spend a lot of their money. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I ask my colleagues for their support.
Thank you, Senator Borja. On the Borja amendment, any objections? There's an objection. All those in favor of the Borja amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment passes. On the next amendment, VAB L17-18 P131, Senator Borja, you recognize?
This one's just real quick, Mr. Chair. I know there was, a couple measures passed earlier this year allowing retired government employees and then, retired teachers as well. I just wanted to ensure that we correct what was just put into the substitute version and strike out not receive sick and annual leave and just replace it with receive leave benefits as authorized by law, Mr. Chair.
On the Borja amendment, anyone wish to speak on it? Senator Barnett.
Mr. Chair. Only don't necessarily have an issue with the amendment because he's right. We did pass two laws relative to leave accrual for retirees rehired, not just into the Guam Department of Education, but into the government of Guam as a whole. So, Mr. Chair, I prepared a master amendment that seeks to correct the entire, there are numerous sections that deal with the temporary employment of retired Guam police officers, retired corrections officers, retired Guam firefighters, retired customs and quarantine officers, retired Department of Revenue and Taxation employees, retired GovGuam social workers, retired GDOE teachers, retired attorneys, retired Office of the AG staff, retired employees, the Mayor's Council of Guam, Mr. Chair. And so the amendment I proffered does the very same thing. So I just wanted to offer that for the record because I'm not sure if it was the committee oversight in preparing the budget, but this is one of the things that we discovered in the last budget bill that was passed that, we got so many calls from the teachers and the other retirees that the last budget bill barred them from accruing the sick leave. So I'm grateful we're able to correct that, and even more grateful that a few of us in here caught that language that's currently embedded in the bill. So, Sidus Masi, Mr. Chair.
On the Borja amendment, Ranking Member Munya Barnes, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, Vice Speaker. On this amendment, I have no objections to this. I support this effort. I just want to make sure that this amendment would be just prospective. This is moving forward, that if we hired any of the retired teachers, that they would receive their leave benefits as authorized by law. So would the author like to yield to that?
The author would like to yield to that?
So this is moving forward based on the law? You can.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so it's just allowing the law that was passed earlier, because this right now says they shall not. So this is just, like the previous speaker shared, I think it was an oversight, which is why the previous bill, previous budget bill also struck, we didn't catch that and removed that benefit. So we're just putting it back to what it should be.
Thank you very much, Vice Speaker, Mr. Chair. Truly support this amendment.
Thank you,
Senator
Ranking Member
Masi.
Barnes. Anyone else on the Guåhan amendment? Senator Guåhan, you like to close?
No need to close. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the Guåhan amendment, any objections? No objections? Amendment passes. Next amendment, P.150. Senator Terlahi, you're recognized, ma'am.
Just Masi, this floor amendment is to extend again the gas tax relief. So it reads that notwithstanding any other provision of law except for liquid fuel used for commercial aviation purposes, all levy of excise taxes, automotive surcharges, and mass transit automotive surcharges on liquid fuel shall be reported, but payments shall be waived for fiscal year 2026 ending September 30, 2026. This was also in the last budget, but it expired on September. It will expire on September 30, 2025. So this will extend it for one more year.
Thank you. Anyone on the Terlahi amendment? Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support this amendment. I had a similar amendment that was in an earlier section that I withdrew, and I would ask the prime sponsor of this amendment if I could be a co-sponsor. Thank you.
On the amendment, any other member wish to speak? Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Sijos Masi, Mr. Chair, definitely rise in support of this amendment. And I commend the gentle lady from Joint Rules for proffering it. And I'd also like to be included as a co-sponsor, sir.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Anyone else wish to speak on the amendment? Senator Terlahi, you wish to close?
Yes, I'd just like to add Senator Parkinson as co-sponsor to my amendment. What he said was correct. And, pardon? And Barnett. And Senator Joe. That's it.
Thank you. On the amendment as amended, are any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment is TMBL 18P150. Ranking Member Barnes, you're recognized.
Sijos Masi, Vice Speaker, Mr. Chair. On this amendment, I'm going to go ahead and set it aside. I ask that this be withdrawn at this time.
Thank you. Amendment is withdrawn. Next amendment is SSM L17P150. I think this was a similar amendment that was proffered in a previous chapter.
I will withdraw that amendment.
Amendment's withdrawn. Thank you, Senator. Next amendment, SSM L17P150II. Senator Mantanani, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. The next series of amendments that I'm planning to speak on, a lot of them came from the agencies of which I have oversight, and this one in particular for the Guam Memorial Hospital. It would align GMHA employees with their counterparts at the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center and other government of Guam agencies in terms of hazardous pay eligibility. Hospital staff frequently perform tasks that expose them to hazardous and physically demanding conditions. These include disposing of medical waste, such as syringes or soiled bedding, transporting discharged patients to residents with potentially unsafe environments, and engaging in hard physical labor, such as removing damaged medical equipment and other waste while maintaining hospital facilities. Authorizing hazardous pay for employees working under these high-risk and strenuous conditions not only recognizes their contributions, but also ensures what they say is fair compensation. This measure is critical for improving morale, retaining skilled staff, and supporting those who face significant challenges in maintaining the hospital's operations and patient care.
On the Mantanani amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Mantanani? Senator Terlahi, you're recognized.
Thank you. If the author would yield, I'd just like to ask if this is done in other hospitals.
Senator, would you like to yield to the question?
I couldn't answer that. This was an amendment from GMH, and they asked me to proffer it, other than it being similar to the situation and the hazardous pay that the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center receives across the street.
Thank you. I agree that what they do there at GMH is hazardous. I think it's the hazardousness is exacerbated at GMH right now because of the conditions of the facility, because of the lack of supplies that is stemming from the non-payment of vendors. And so I do also hope that this will help them in their recruitment and retention. However, yeah, I just feel like we have to help them solve the root of the problem, which is we need to pay for their protective equipment, we need to pay for the proper equipment, we need to pay for the proper supplies for all of those nurses and others working there, and everybody working there, and that, that's really what's going to help reduce their exposure. So, but I support this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Chalahi. Anyone else on the Matanani amendment? Senator Matanani, you'd like to close?
No.
On the Matanani amendment, any objections? No objections? Amendment passes. Next amendment, SSM L17 P150 III. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
Senator Perez, is this, I'm trying to think, is this similar to what you proffered in the previous
Chapter. So would you like to withdraw?
It is, right? It's the same?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll withdraw it.
Thank you. Amendments withdrawn. Thank you, Senators. Next amendment, SSM L17 P150 IV. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
This is also similar to the amendment that was proffered by my colleague who chairs the Committee on Education as it relates to small purchase procurement authority regarding the $250,000 threshold.
On the Matanani amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Yes, similar objections. Again, the testimony provided by the Chief Procurement Officer was that there wasn't a whole lot of small purchases at that level. In fact, it was much lower, I believe. So I stand corrected, it was the limit is 25,000 currently, but they were saying that most purchases are around the 50,000 level. And so to increase it doesn't quite make sense. In fact, it could have an opposite effect where the cost can increase because now vendors are seeing we're willing to spend $250,000 at a pop. And so, I want to caution my colleagues to increase the threshold at such a level when the data doesn't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the Matanani amendment? Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair. I just want to echo the comments of the procurement princess, my colleague from Barragata. He's very well versed in this law, and if the data doesn't support it, I would just wonder what could they purchase for $250,000 a pop. I just don't think it's reasonable, Mr. Chair, and again, I think it opens the door for abuse.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Anyone else wish to speak on the Matanani amendment? Senator Matanani, you'd like to close?
Yes, I would just like to say that I don't work at public health, right? And this amendment was from them. So, I mean, if this is something that they need help with, especially considering what Senator Duenas explained with the Department of Education, I will say that coming up, I will have another amendment related to another healthcare agency, the Guam Memorial Hospital, who is requesting the similar threshold. So.
On the Matanani amendment, any objections? There's an objection. All those in favor of the Matanani amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment fails. Next amendment, SSM L17 P150 V. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
I will withdraw this amendment for now.
Amendment withdrawn. Next amendment, SSM L17P150VI. Senator Mantovani, you're recognized.
This amendment also was in concert with the Guam Memorial Hospital, and again, similar to the amendments regarding public health and small procurement purchase authority. This one also is at $250,000. And according to GMH, their justification is that it enhances their ability to procure critical medical, raising the threshold for small purchases aligns the local procurement process with federal standards, streamlining the acquisition of hospital supplies, services, equipment, and pharmaceuticals. This amendment reduces administrative delays, enabling GMHA to maintain adequate stock levels of critical medical supplies and medications. Without this amendment, the hospital would be forced to rely on more time-consuming procurement methods such as bids or RFPs, which are often subject to delays caused by vendor appeals. By simplifying the process, this amendment ensures timely procurement and supports the hospital's ability to meet the healthcare needs of the community.
On the Mantovani amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Mantovani amendment? Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did speak with the legal counsel, and I asked him to provide data on what is their expenditures look like. So if I can ask the author of this amendment if she has that information.
You yield to the question?
I'm sorry, you spoke with the legal counsel?
Of the hospital. So when they were in the committee of whole, I asked him to provide data as far as what is their expenditure levels and frequency of each.
I don't have that data. This amendment came from them.
Okay, so yeah, I know their levels would be higher, but without having any information to support this level, I'm going to have to respectfully object to this amendment, although I'm open to a different amount, but without having any information, I can't say I'm in full support of this. What else?
And just for clarification from GMH, they did say that they produced 2,000 purchase orders under this particular threshold, so with regards to small purchase.
Okay. Anyone else on the Mantovani amendment? Senator Gumatato, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I do support the amendment. I think this body over the last, couple days has given them resources to be able to do their jobs better, and this is just one more step. And I think that as we are contemplating this amendment, remember that we are giving them the resources that they asked for, and GMH and the authority, and they have a board that will also help them to guide them in this way, that this is something, a tool that they need, and they need right now. If our commitment, Mr. Chair, is to give them resources, then we shouldn't hamstring them from doing their job. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On the Mantovani amendment, Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just copy paste my comments from the previous amendment, but I did want to add just a little bit of, as it was said that we're providing resources to the Guam Memorial Hospital, and I hope we're not talking about the $35 million in imaginary resources, because I don't know how many $250,000 purchases they're going to be able to make with this invisible money that even colleagues in here who voted on the amendment admitted just yesterday is missing. So I just wanted to offer that. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Anyone else? Chairman Dueñas, you're recognized.
Yeah, I support the amendment, and it's kind of rich that the previous speaker says the funny money on the the $35 million, yet tried to proffer a $500 million amendment using the same procedure, and then ended up withdrawing it. But I can tell you right now, there's an active investigation on that, and I think we're going to see some action on it. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I support this amendment.
Thank you. On the Mantovani amendment, Senator Terlahi, you're recognized.
Thank you. I appreciate GMH's concern and that processing 2,000 purchase orders under this amount is very significant, and that GMH does not go through GSA like the line agencies such as public health. However, because this small purchase has really, they've really tried to be a little bit stricter on it recently because of abuse, and because we have vendors that are unpaid and who are looking at us like we are not treating them fairly, because if we don't pay them, of course, they can't provide the services, then we end up going at GMH to other vendors for the same type of services, less quality, more expensive. It's not fair to those. So I would just, I'm going to also respectfully object, just because I think for this one in particular, for GMH, if we can do it by separate bill, we can have this full discussion and find out what kind of just assurances that they can give us, or policies that they can actually put into place to streamline their procurement and yet make it extremely fair because of the volume that they do, and also to lessen the ability for abuse, which is really, this is one of those things, this is one of those areas of procurement that in the past was hugely subject to abuse, because it said, bring me 3 quotes. So you go to your friends and you ask for 3 quotes, and that's all you have to do. And so the code really tried to force people to go out and give notice so that more people would be able to bid. And so again, I guess I would just like to hear all of the information from GMH and the Chief Procurement Officer in regards to this.
Thank you, Senator Tulahi. Anyone else on the Metanani Amendment? There's been an objection. All those in favor of the Metanani Amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment passes. Next amendment, SSM L17P150 VII. Senator Metanani, you're recognized. And I believe this has been proffered in, what's passed in the previous chapter.
It's different, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Senator Metanani.
So what's different is that it would mandate the monthly deposit of business privilege tax revenue to the GMHA Pharmaceutical Fund for the Guam Memorial Hospital no later than 25 days after the end of each month. The Director of Administration shall deposit 6 1900% of all BPT collected and reported in each monthly CRER into GMH Pharmaceutical Fund.
Anyone wishing to speak on the amendment? Senator Tulahi, you're recognized.
Yes, I fully support this amendment, and I thank the author for this. Earlier in the bill, we did pass an amendment that said for FY2026, we were going to allow them to receive what they are entitled to under the law that gives them, that creates that pharmaceutical fund. This amends the actual law so that it permanently forces the government to deposit that money and give that to GMH going forward. We don't need to say it year by year anymore. They're just going to receive that money and it's going to be deposited. So I fully support this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Tulahi. Anyone else on the Metanani amendment? Senator Metanani, you'd like to close?
I just wanted to reiterate that, or stress that appropriating the excess BPT collections owed to GMH, it's critical and crucial for addressing past financial obligation and ensuring the hospital has the resources needed to sustain it.
Use your hand mic, please. You mind? Can we check audio, video, please?
Mic's working. Yeah.
We'll take a 1-minute recess. No, stand by.
Hello?
Okay.
Testimony from the administration acknowledges that deposits into the pharmaceutical fund are capped at adopted budget levels even when actual collections exceed projections. This practice has resulted in a cumulative shortfall of $10.9 million owed to the fund from fiscal year 2019 to the present. In fiscal year 2025 alone, this amounts to an additional $721,000 that could be allocated to the hospital for purchasing medical and pharmaceutical supplies. This amendment ensures that the Department of Administration deposits the owed funds into the pharmaceutical fund, providing the hospital with the financial support necessary to meet its operational and patient care needs.
Thank you. On the Matanani amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment, SVC L18P150. Senator Calvo, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer an amendment to authorize the Department of Youth Affairs, DYA, to retain and reprogram its unexpended fiscal year 2025 and prior year funds, allowing those funds to remain available in fiscal year 2026 to support critical operational needs, infrastructure repairs, and staffing continuity. Mr. Chair, this is to, I'd like to proffer this amendment to, for the bill to read, continuing appropriations authorization for the Department of Youth Affairs, notwithstanding any other provision of law, the allotted but unexpended balance of funds appropriated to the Department of Youth Affairs for fiscal year 2025 and prior shall not lapse and continue to be available in fiscal year 2026.
On the Calvo amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Calvo amendment? No one wishes to speak on the Calvo amendment. You'd like to close, Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment does not increase appropriations. It preserves what has already been allocated and ensures that DYA can fulfill its mission without disruption. I thank my colleagues for the support in this measure as a reflection of responsible governance and our shared commitment to youth services. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On the Calvo amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment, SVC L18P150II. Senator Calvo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is to provide DYA with the same temporary employment authority granted to other agencies. In Substitute Bill number 4438 COR, ensuring staffing, continuity, and compliance with federal mandates. Mr. Chair, this is to amend the bill to read temporary employment of retired youth service workers. The Department of Youth Affairs, DYA, may hire retired Guam Youth Service Workers, YSW, if a critical need arises because of military activation of YSW officers or absence due to a long-term disability status which has been certified by a medical doctor, or when the vacancies cannot be filled within 6 months because of the lack of qualified applicants. Retired youth service workers hired under this section may receive their retirement annuity while employed in this temporary basis. The DYA may exercise this hiring authority provided its authorized budget for personnel is not exceeded. The retiree hired shall fill such a vacant position and shall be terminated when the incumbent returns from military services or absence. Retired youth service workers may be hired only in the ranks of youth service workers 2 and below, only at step 1, and shall not receive sick and annual leave. Officers hired under this section shall meet the requirements for the position in question, except for written examinations. The Director of DYA shall certify that every retiree hired is fit for duty. Notwithstanding Section 8121A of Article 1, Chapter 8, Title 4, GCA, retirees hired temporarily pursuant to this section may continue to receive retirement benefits. Any employee hired under this section shall only be eligible to enroll in the Government of Guam Health Insurance Program as an active employee. The DYA Director shall submit a report to Legislature in Guåhan on July 1, 2026, and again 30 days after the end of fiscal year 2026. Of the number of retired officers hired pursuant to this section, the positions filled, the length of employment, the cost of said hiring, and the nature of the critical need that was filled. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On the Calvo amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Calvo, you wish to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment ensures that DYA receives the same staffing flexibility afforded to other agencies in this bill. It is a responsible, time-bound measure that supports continuity of care in the department's mission to serve youth and families. I thank my colleagues for their support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Any objections on the Calvo amendment? No objections. Motion. Amendment passes. Next amendment, SVC L18 P150. Senator Calvo, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, is it P150 III?
Yes, P150 III.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this amendment is to ensure that the Department of Chamorro Affairs can utilize its unspent funds to address critical HVAC needs at the Guam Museum without forfeiture due to lapse. To amend the bill, Mr. Chair, I'd like to proffer the bill to read continuing appropriations authorization for the Department of Chamorro Affairs, notwithstanding any other provision of law. The allotted but unexpended balance of funds appropriated to the Department of Chamorro Affairs for fiscal year 2025 and prior shall not lapse and continue to be available in fiscal year 2026 for the purpose of HVAC maintenance and repair for the Guam Museum.
On the Calvo amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Calvo amendment? It's SVC L18 P150 III. You have it, Senator? Okay. Anyone wish to speak on the Calvo amendment? Senator Calvo, you like to close? Senator Calvo, you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, my colleagues. Appreciate your support.
On the Calvo amendment, any objections? No objections? Amendment passes. We're gonna take a 1-minute recess so they can reset the system, as some mics are not working.
Test. Test.
Hello, hello.
Hello?
Check. Check.
Committee of the Whole is called back to order. Speaker Blas, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Notwithstanding any rules or House rules, I move that we continue past 10 p.m.
There's a motion to continue past 10 a.m. Any objection? 10 p.m. Oh. Any objections? No objections. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Senator Matanani, you're recognized. No, I know, but she's going to do her. Not now. Senator Calvo, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion to reconsider the actions of the body on SB 44 SVC L18 P150 II. It's just a minor reconsideration. I'm asking to strike out 2 words, very minor. So on the second paragraph,
So, there's a motion to reconsider the actions of the body on amendment that has already been passed as a per legal, that there was a section there that was included in this amendment that she would like to strike out. So if there's any objections to the motion to reconsider the actions? No objection? Go ahead, Senator Calvo.
thank you, Mr. Chair. On the second paragraph, line 3, after, so I will read line 3. Youth service worker 2 and below, only at step 1 and shall not receive sick. The following 2 words are going to be strike out, and annual. So it will read, shall not receive sick leave, period. So strike out and annual as per legal review.
Any objections to the amendment? No objections? On the amendment, any objections to the amendment? Amendment passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion to reconsider the actions of the body on SB 44 SSM L17 P150 4. This is regarding the Department of Public Health and Social Services Small Purchase Procurement Authority.
There's a motion to reconsider actions of the body on Amendment SSM L17 P150 IV. Any objections? There's an objection. All those in favor in reconsidering the actions of the body, please signify by raising your hand. Motion passes. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
Just wanted to vote again.
Yes. On, on the motion to,
I thought this one failed.
it passed. The reconsider,
This one failed.
no, the underlying passed. The Senator Calvo's amendment passed, yeah. This is Senator Matanani's now. Yeah. No, this one, we're voting on this one now. Yes. Yeah. Oh, on her. One minute recess.
IV.
Okay, yeah, come forward. Okay. So,
Test?
we're going to take a 1 minute recess. Senator Matanani, please. Council? Yeah. Senator Matanan, you're recognized. So we did reconsider the actions of the body on your failed amendment of SSM L17P150IV. So there was an objection. All those in favor of the amendment, of the Matanani amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment passes. Next amendment is TTT L1. Stand by. Next amendment is TTT L12P149. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, all this does is complete the title of Section 41 of Miscellaneous Provisions, Chapter 12, page 149. And the Section 41 says classified employees protections for the Office of the Attorney General, and basically is on 20, it's just to ensure that it's employees of the, so I'm just only incorporating employees of the Office of Elected Attorney General, and that's just making it clear.
Thank you.
That's it.
Senator, on the Taitigui amendment, Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to speak up on these particular sections, 41 and 35, because there is a interesting letter going around from the legal community that I'd like to read into the record. Section 30, the Guam Budget Bill contains several provisions that violate the Organic Act and attempt to place the Guam Attorney General above the law. Sections 35, 41, and 21D of the Budget Bill seek to strip public servants of their civil service protection in direct violation of the Organic Act of Guam. The current Attorney General of Guam consistently complains that he does not have enough attorneys to perform the necessary functions of his office and to effectively prosecute crime. Instead of creating recruitment incentives, the Guam Legislature's enactment of Section 35 will strip employees of the Attorney General's office of their merit system protections. AG Doug Moylan is asking for the legislature to exempt them from the Organic Act. This is both a bad idea and outside the power of the legislature. This is not only a misguided provision that will disincentivize attorneys from pursuing government service, as any attorney can tell you, it is also obviously illegal. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal court covering Guam, ruled in 1996 that assistant attorney generals must be placed in the classified service. The government of Guam eventually had to pay out over $500,000 in back pay and costs to Alan Hauser, the attorney deprived of merit protections. Adjusted for inflation, the amounts to over $1 million today. Based on the staffing patterns, AG Doug Moylan has illegally employed over 20 attorneys in the unclassified service and over 50 more non-attorney staff members. The Office of the Attorney General has over 70 unclassified employees who should be classified. When these individuals sue like Alan Hauser did, Guam stands to be on the hook for up to $70 million. Just last year, AG Moylan publicly declared that he was withdrawing from representing the government of Guam. He declared that he no longer wanted to do the job of the people of Guam elected him to do. Even after AG Moylan abandoned his position, he asked the legislature for more power and a raise, and now he asks for sweeping permission to violate the Organic Act and strip Guam's hardworking public servants of their merit system rights. Section 35 will cost Guam millions and will make recruiting attorneys harder. Section 35 is illegal and is bad for Guam. The undersigned are all attorneys who come from a variety of backgrounds and political views. Many, but not all of us, have experience working for the government of Guam, including the Attorney General's office. We all call or have called Guam our home. We unite in calling for the legislature to remove these obviously illegal provisions from the budget bill. And it's signed by a long list of local attorneys. And I, in particular, have problems with sections 35 and 41 because from what I understand and see that they weren't in previous budget acts in the past. They are new provisions that have not had a public hearing being put into the miscellaneous section of the budget bill. And I would respectfully ask that seeing some of the outcry we have in the community, the legal community, we should consider removing these provisions until they've had their day to withstand scrutiny in a public hearing. I also have some concerns concerning Section 21, but I will not be submitting an amendment to remove it because that provision was in the previous budgets before, but there is talk in the community that that provision may be being abused. And so rather than repealing it without a public hearing or anything like that, maybe a oversight hearing would be in order or something to get it cleared up, because I'm not comfortable removing something that we've used before with, on hearsay that it's being abused. But I do think that the other two provisions in 35 and 41 should be repealed until they've had their day in the public hearing for public accountability. And so I will be objecting to this amendment just because it's fruit from the poison tree. It's an amendment that shouldn't have been here in the first place. With that, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. Anyone else on the Taidegui amendment? Speaker Blas, you're recognized.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. While I can understand and I can recognize the concern from the good gentleman from Magaʹhågan to Mighty, objection to the amendment is just an objection to the language that's going to be proffered. It's not necessarily objection to the whole section. So we just have to make that very clear, okay? I just need to make sure that there's more, so I'll go ahead and use that time. So he recognized that objection to this amendment doesn't kill the section. It just says that language is not going to be included. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Speaker Blas. Anyone else on the Taidegui amendment? Senator Taidegui, you'd like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I appreciate, everyone's comments or, both sides of this, but, this is just a simple typo, just to make it clear. And it's just to add employees to ensure that Section 41. And, I do understand, I'm pretty sure the objector of this amendment is probably going to, well, he already read the letter, so when his amendments come in, I guess we don't have to listen to it again. But I just want to make it clear that what they're talking about is the case on the Heiser case, Mr. Chair. Just to let you know, during that time, it wasn't an elected Attorney General at that time. So any case that was brought up during that time, it was because it was not an elected office at that time. We are now have an elected Attorney General, which makes a big difference. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Taidegui. On the Taidegui amendment, there has been an objection. All those in favor of the Taidegui amendment, please signify by raising your hands. Amendment passes. Next amendment, SSM L17P150 VIII. Senator Matanani, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is also another amendment in concert with the Guam Memorial Hospital. It's an amendment to Public Law 35-138, enhancing GMH's ability to procure critical medical equipment by extending the existing tax credit program and eliminating the 1% administrative fee. GMHA plays a vital role in providing life-saving care, but continues to face challenges in acquiring essential medical supplies. Removing the administrative fee ensures that the full value of the tax credits is directed toward high-priority equipment needs, maximizing the program's impact. Additionally, adjusting the effective date to October 1st, 2025 allows for proper implementation.
Thank you, Senator Matanani. Anyone on the Matanani amendment? Senator Matanani, you'd like to close?
No.
On the Matanani amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment, FBJ L18P150. Speaker Blas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go ahead and withdraw this amendment, and we'll take it through the public hearing process.
Thank you. FBJ L18P150 has been withdrawn. Next amendment, TTT L6P135. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this amendment, simply what it does is on section 16, it, okay, let's start from the beginning. It makes it easier because there's a lot of people who are wanting this amendment to happen and to explain to them, so that I'm sure a lot of us have been getting phone calls about a bill that was recently passed. And it required a notary, a notarized document in order to get the name transferred from a vehicle that you've just purchased. And the notary is to determine what cost that you paid for the vehicle so that the revenue tax can apply the 2.5% tax toward it. This actually has been causing more problems than we thought. It was at the direction of a revenue tax that wanted to put the notary in, but we're finding out that you have all these automobile companies on this island having to get a notarize every vehicle that's being sold and making it very difficult, especially when people leave off island. We have a lot of military that when they leave island, they leave their car behind and they sell it and they're gone, and it's very hard to get a notarized between both individuals, the buyer and the seller, especially if the buyer is off island. So that's what this does. It just strikes out notary and incorporates other forms of verification may be accepted, subject to the approval of the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. So it doesn't have to be notarized. The other one is we're finding out that many times when you purchase a vehicle, the vehicle maybe need repair, it's used. That 30 days is not enough time for them to transfer the vehicle over to the new owner. Sometimes it's in the shop for many months. So what we're doing here is basically extending that instead of 30 days to incorporate 180 days, which is 6 months. Mr. Chair, the current law right now, of course, well, before this bill had passed, when we passed this bill, there really was not any penalty or fines if you didn't transfer it. So because there is penalty and fines, Mr. Chair, we're going to allow that to extend it to 6 months. So that gives them more leeway, before having to get penalized. And that's my amendment, Mr.
Thank you. On the Taitigui amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Taitigui amendment? Senator Taitigui, you'd like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll waive.
On the Taitigui amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment. 1 minute recess. Committee of the Whole is called back to order. Senator Barnett, we're on. Next amendment is CBP127. Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Test. Good evening. Buenas. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the chance to proffer this amendment. As I discussed a little bit earlier, it's a master amendment and it amends all of the sections relative to rehiring of retirees into the government of Guam. And it just, all the sections are the same except for the agency and the positions being rehired in the agencies. And so I'm just amending applicable sections 3 to 13 of Chapter 12 to read as follows: and shall not receive, and I just struck through a sick and. They don't get annual leave, Mr. Chair. And then I know there was a law passed that allowed for the accrual of personal leave by my good colleague. And so this kind of just cleans up a lot of this language here that I think maybe it was inadvertently included, or they forgot to check it because we don't want it to conflict with the laws on the books that allow retirees, all retirees, that's my law, to be rehired into the government of Guam to be able to accrue sick leave. And then specifically the section dealing with the GDOE teachers has already been amended.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. On the Barnett amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Barnett, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for their support of the amendment.
On the Barnett amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. We're on the next amendment, SSM L15P150. Senator Matanani, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This relates to the exemption to restrictions on hiring of unclassified employees, specifically for social workers, community program aides, eligibility specialists, environmental public health officers at the Department of Public Health and Social Services.
On the Matanani amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Matanani amendment? Senator Chalahi, you're recognized, ma'am.
Hello. There's a section in the bill on page 140, section 27, that talks about restrictions on hiring of unclassified employees, and then it makes a list. And I wonder if this is supposed to be added to that list. Otherwise, I think the sentence is just, not full. Yeah, so I would just suggest if this will be an exemption, then it should just be higher. I mean, maybe just add it to this list. So that list ends on page 143, subsection V, TUV. You can add a new W or a new V, or just ask legal. I would just amend this motion to ask legal to put it in on section 27, where appropriate.
On the amendment to have legal make the proper corrections. Any objections? No objections. On the amendment as amended. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't. Yeah. Senator Matanani, anyone else wish to speak on the amendment as amended? Senator Matanani, you wish to close?
No, thank you to Senator Chalahi for the amendment to the
Thank you, ma'am.
amendment.
On the Matanani amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. On the next amendment, TMT P150II. Senator Chalahi, you're recognized, ma'am.
I'll withdraw that one. We did that already. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. TMT P150II is withdrawn. Next amendment is TMT L9-20P162. Senator Chalahi, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is just a technical one to change the year that was put in the bill to from 25 to 26 to 25, because we want this allocation report to be done right in front of the fiscal year, the new fiscal year in October, not at the end. So this is changing it to it will be done October 15, 2025.
Thank you, Senator Talahi. Anyone on the Talahi amendment? No one on the Talahi amendment. Ma'am, you wish to close? No. Any objections to the Talahi amendment? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment, JSSA L18P150. Senator San Agustin, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is in reference to the an amendment that I had introduced earlier in reference on the previous budget of 2024, and it deals with the ABC license. And this is proffered on page 150, line 18, adding a new section 42 to chapter 12. This will allow the Department of Revenue and Taxation Control Board to accept and approve applications for a license to sell alcohol at a new business that have already reached the capacity of one license for every 200 or fraction thereof inhabitants. This amendment allows the issuance of non-transferable on-sale general license with requirement for a hotel of not less than 20 rooms or for any premises designated to provide restaurant facilities for the public with investment in its buildings not less than $50K. More importantly, it allowed for retail business a non-transferable off-sale general license that meets conditions that includes a building investment of not less than $5 million and must employ 150 or more employees upon notice by the ABC Board of Population Limited Exemption. Other requirements relative to conducting public hearings, community impact assessment, local workforce preference, review and reporting must be complied. We've all seen the new retail business building going up just down the street. For many of my colleagues, the name is Cost You Less. They are a prime example who will benefit from this amendment. They will be the this will be the fourth location. They have invested over $5 million in a new store construction, and in other locations employing over 250 local homegrown talent to operate and run their business. With the new location, they will have to employ more. They believe in Guam. With this amendment, together we can give them the assurance that we believe in them. Mr. Chairman, together we can expand economic opportunities by helping businesses with license and in turn require these businesses to hire employees within the local community and investing in a new store facility. Together we can help businesses who are new or expanding. Together we can celebrate with businesses that believe in Guam, who take the chances in providing new or additional services and products to our people. This amendment is a win for our community, and we should do what is necessary to assist those who contribute to the success of our island. Together we can do it. I ask for the support of my colleagues to pass this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator San Agustin. On the San Agustin amendment, anyone wish to speak? Ranking Member Muñoz-Barnes, you're recognized, ma'am. Turn on your microphone, the handheld one. Thank you, ma'am.
Si Diyos Masi, Mr. Chair. Vice Speaker, as noted by the author of this amendment, this provision was done for the new investment that was done into Muning with Don Donkey and what? And Happy Mart. And only fair that we extend this. I know that we allowed for this, but there was an expiration, and as we see the possibility of creating new job opportunities for 250 employees, and the investment that they have put into the community of Agaña, I think that this is a good investment, and I support the efforts. I know they're,
Thank you,
in the
Ranking
interest
Member
of time, I
Barnes.
support the efforts. Thank you.
Senator Perez, you're recognized, ma'am.
Yeah, I think this is an amendment that requires a public hearing. There are so many things happening with this amendment. I think in addition to increasing the amount of licenses for alcohol sales. I believe the other thing that it does, it also affects hotels. And I do recall there was a bill that was introduced perhaps in the previous legislature. I believe it didn't have a hearing on it as well. So to me, this is a substantive change that hasn't had a public hearing. And, we're thinking about, the access to alcohol, increasing access to alcohol by our youth. We know that, some of these, it's not clear to me where these businesses are. The proffer of the amendment stated they're one business, but this opens it up to the whole island. And to not have any public hearing on this, I believe is not doing our due diligence in assuring that any concerns that the community has can go into addressing this policy. So I think this is a policy that needs to have its public hearing. So I object to this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Anyone else on the San Agustin amendment? Senator Chalahi, you're recognized, ma'am. Your hand held. 1 minute recess. Committee of the Whole is called back to order. In consultation with legal counsel, I'm going to have to rule this amendment out of order as it unrelated subjects to an annual budget bill or only one supplemental to the annual budget bill shall be the same subject matter as a bill which has been discussed at a duly noticed public hearing unless a public hearing was waived due to the existence of emergency condition. So with that said,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
This amendment was heard in 2024, and it was in the budget of 2024. All we did was just ask it to be put in this budget. Now, to make the excuse there was no hearing, there was a hearing. So, I'm going to ask them to motion to overrule the presider, respectfully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion to overrule the decision of the chair. All those in favor?
Point of information.
Senator Chalahi.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Yes, the law, this is a law, by the way, in Title II that requires a public hearing, even for items in the budget bill that have not had one. And the reason I'm bringing it up on this section is because this section has a permanent effect on the code, the licensing of ABC, and it's so it should go through the regular process, just like the speaker recognized for his own, that these things are going to affect how we doing business. There's no reason it can't have a public hearing.
Thank you, Senator Chalahi. Senator Perez, you're recognized, ma'am.
Yeah, point of information. When it was in that bill, the budget bill, there was a public hearing for it. And this one is different. This one had their changes to it, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Perez. There's a motion to overrule the decision of the chair. All those in favor of overruling the chair, please signify by raising your hand. Motion passes. Senator San Agustin, you wish to close? Or anyone else wish to speak on the... Senator Chalahi is going to speak on the bill.
Yes, so the body has voted to put this into this budget bill without a public hearing because, as they recognize, they want to do these favors for these businesses. Again, this is something that can be done, and just like everything else should be done with a public hearing so that the licensing board can come in and tell us what is the capacity and what are we going to be allowing by this provision? And why do we have those policies in place? As opposed to voting on it, acting on it completely uninformed. The hearing that he's talking about was more than 2 years ago, and it was for a very limited time period, and it wasn't even with all of these provisions. So this is alcohol beverage licensing. And if we want to change the policy, then let's make it an informed, transparent process to change the policy. We might all agree to it. The problem is, we're just changing it for one business that you want to take care of, as opposed to let's have all the businesses be on notice and have the opportunity to tell us why they support that or why they wouldn't support that. Because the policies were not created out of nothing. There are reasons behind them, and if they are no longer valid for us, then let's do that in a very formal process with everyone. This is, it changes the number of premises. It changes for all kinds of establishments, not just one. I remember that law that they were trying to make it for Don Donkey at the time. And this one, I guess the sponsor wants to make it for some other business, but I'm just saying, I don't even think these businesses want it to be done that way. They don't want to be singled out and we have to pass a law for them. Why can't they just compete like all the other businesses? And if it's good for the community, then that will come out in the public hearing and it will be a slam dunk. So that's the only reason I'm going to object to this amendment, because again, I don't know what we're trying to do by this bill, especially at 11 p.m. Can't even see the clock anymore because my eyes are tired. But this is another one of those things that I don't, the legislature, we have a duty to the public to be transparent. The way we are transparent is by doing it in a public hearing so that they can also have an opportunity to be involved in creating policy, in influencing our policy. Not doing it in the middle of the night without anybody looking at it. Zero input on this. There's not any. It's not like something we've been debating in the community for 10 years, but there's just none. So I very much object to it. If it's going to be good for the community, then let's just have that out at a public hearing and put it on the agenda the next session, and it's done. So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chalahi. Senator Barnett, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, that woke me up. Kahulu, it's 11 o'clock at night, literal cover of darkness. Maybe this is why we're in here trying to plow through this budget bill so it can get engrossed and we can vote on Friday and then people could go wherever they got to go. But yeah, I rise in strong objection to this. You know, Laniat, I couldn't even get to override the chair to give the PTOs $5,000 each. I couldn't get to override the chair to give the mayors the ability to dole out community grants to sports organizations and community wellness groups. It's just offensive that we'll try to do this to our people in the dark while they're sleeping. I mean, look at this trash can full of all the amendments we passed while you guys were sleeping. So I just object to this amendment, and I also ask my colleagues to appeal to their better senses. It may have had a public hearing, you know, antes guantes, but this is a very different amendment that's before us tonight, Mr. Chair, at almost midnight. Okay, so si Dios masi.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. It's actually 5 to 11, so thank you. On the San Agustin amendment, Senator San Agustin, you'd like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I've been asked if Chamorro, but mga basta bifina English o claro. Number one, this is the same thing that we had in the fiscal budget year of 2024. The verbiage is exactly the same. That's number one. Number two, I called ABC and said, I hear there's an issue that we had resolved back in 24 into 25. And they mentioned this law that was enacted in the Budget Act, but it expired. There's more than just one business that's down the street. There were 3 of them. And they're asked, is there any way you guys at ABC can reach the Senate and find out they can put it back in, reconsider it? That's why this amendment was introduced. Now to say there's different verbiage, they thought of them put different verbiage. Want to talk about the time of night? Let's just reduce the amount of time we talk. Mr. Chairman, I ask for the vote of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator San Agustin. On the San Agustin amendment, there has been an objection. All those in favor of the San Agustin amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment passes. Next amendment, TTT-L18P150. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I rise once more to proffer the amendment to restore the 5% BPT tax, privilege tax on military contracts valued over $10 million. This amendment failed by only one vote, and we cannot afford to abandon it. As the former Guam Economic Development Authority Administrator John Martinez recently wrote in the Pacific Daily News, this exemption is not a symbolic gesture. It's a sound fiscal policy, and failing to adopt it was a mistake that risks surrounding millions in stable revenue to our island desperately needed. Mr. Chair, the concern of individuals that was brought up about subcontractors, Mr. Chair. And I want to make it clear that subcontractors from a contract that's already been taxed 5%, which is paid by DOD, does not get taxed. The subcontractors will not be taxed. That's double taxation. So they are even protected. You know, colleagues, this very budget debate, we are, appropriating from future excess 26 revenue that we haven't even gotten out of 25 is very concerning. That's why I held back, knowing that, okay, we are already in a situation of trying to hopefully at least have the same type of excess revenue in FY25 that we'll have in 26, and still being cautious by cutting that in half to be safe. I'm in agreement. I'm a conservative. I'm in agreement of that. But we have critical issues right now that we need to face. And the military that is here is only here for not very long, 8 years, and then they're gone. Over $2 billion coming into our island, and only 1/4 of that, Mr. Chair, has been issued out. It's a privilege to do business on Guam. And this military buildup impacts our island. Infrastructure, our roads, all those big semi-trucks going down the road and, just damaging certain, road structure, and we have to potholes and fill them up, and, it's an impact. The environment, it's an impact. Mr. Chair, I ask my colleagues, what logic are you applying to vote against this amendment? What logic? Because it's very simple. $10 million. It's a huge amount. $10 million. From military contracts. Again, Mr. Chair, this is not a contractor going out to build homes, affordable homes in Dedido, where it's a $20 million contract. No, they're not taxed. They stay below the 4%, Mr. Chair. So I ask my colleagues to please reconsider this. And I want to set it for the record. The Chamber of Commerce argues that this is unconstitutional, unfair, and double taxation. That is false. Guam law, Public Law 30-23, 11 GCA 26202E prevents subcontractors from being double taxed. Courts have repeatedly upheld our right to tax contractors on federally funded work, and tax classifications in Guam law has never been found unconstitutional. Let me say that again. A tax classification in Guam law has never been found unconstitutional. This amendment does not punish local businesses. Subcontractors are already pay zero under current law. Colleagues, we can't keep gambling with our future, taking from uncertain excess revenue to fund cancer care, to fund public health, to fund public safety, while discarding guaranteed revenues, my colleagues, guaranteed revenues from the military contracts that are not going to be here much longer. $2 billion over $2 billion coming into this island. I urge you, look beyond the politics alliance, look beyond the rhetoric, look at the reality of this budget and the families depending on us. This is not a vote for or against any senator. It is a vote for against or against. It's not a vote for against Guam's future. Let us restore and keep the 5% for these military contracts that are paid by DOD when it comes to their fair share of 5% BPT that they pay for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the tie degree amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Guåhan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we entertained this amendment in Chapter 1. I think there was an attempt in another chapter earlier. I don't remember. It's late right now. But, I think for me, I'm all about, charging people or having people pay their fair share of tax. And for me, I think it's unfair when you say, because you're only temporary, but you make a lot of money, and because we're going to give a tax, we're going to help some others in the community, just not you, because you're only here temporary and you bring a lot of money, and we need a lot of money to fix a lot of our problems. The claim that some of I get some of the claims, the environment, I 100% agree with that. The roads, I'm not sure, some of it they can own, but I mean, those problems existed even before the military buildup started. I mean, I lived in Back Road. If anybody has driven in Back Road for many, many years, that road was broken and there was a lot of potholes for a very long time. I think the way I want to, the analogy I want to use is, it's like when you go to a store and we're going to decide how much we're going to charge you. It's like saying, because you make a lot more money than the person next to you, I'm going to charge you a little bit more because you have more money to pay. So, I tried to, I tried to offer another proposal in regards to, if it's about $10 million, those who make 10, then take the term military contract out of that, Mr. Chair. Then I can support that. But to just say, because you're a military contractor, I think you should pay, we're going to make you pay a higher BBT, I think that's just unfair, and I'm going to respectfully object to this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the tie degree amendment, anyone else wish to speak on the tie degree amendment? Senator Gumatata, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I object to this amendment. The Federal Supremacy Clause, which is noted in Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, prohibits state or territorial laws from interfering with federal functions. Mr. Chairman, a higher tax rate applied only to U.S. Department of Defense contractors or reducing the BPT for non-DOD related activity, but keeping the 5% for DOD activity would likely be interpreted as an attempt to indirectly tax the federal government, and that would be deemed unconstitutional. Mr. Chair, key United States Supreme Court rulings over the last 160 years that I understand go back to the end of the Civil War in 1865, some 33 years before Guam joined the American family, have determined that states and territories can't hinder federal operations through discriminatory taxation. Mr. Chair, it is not possible to levy a higher tax on construction projects inside the fence versus levying a lower tax on non-DOD projects outside the fence. A tax that targets DOD contractors solely on their federal clients is arbitrary and discriminatory, in my opinion, Mr. Chair. And also, there is, again, case law. And this would make it very, very vulnerable to a legal challenge. The Federal Acquisition Regulation governs what costs are allowable in Department of Defense contracts. A discriminatory tax, Mr. Chair, on DoD contractors, if it's imposed by the local government, would result in the federal government not reimbursing the contractor, and hence the contractor would contest them. Those contractors are our friends, our families who have built businesses in Guam since we joined that American family. This would certainly, Mr. Chairman, limit Guam's ability to attract competitive bids for federal projects inside the fence and outside. Mr. Chair, it's about fairness. And until that time that we maybe take it outside of this particular process here in the Budget Act and into a public hearing, again, I object. I think it should be fair. And again, let's take this out to the to another process away from this particular Budget Act. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else on the Taigui amendment? Senator Taigui, you'd like to close? Senator Chalai, you're recognized, ma'am.
It just sounds from the debate on this particular amendment that there's so much information that's lacking in here. One of them is the whole analysis of what the military buildup was supposed to bring. And that started back before 2010. They had studies and they calculated the economic adverse impact on Guam from buildup, including the need for additional resources, such as roads, yes, hospitals, schools, everything. They went down the whole list, they calculated up, and then they calculated what economic benefit it might bring. And that was the only thing that was to mitigate so much of the adverse impacts, was the economic benefit. And if we today are going to say, we don't really need that, tax was a big part of how they calculated the economic benefit. And we today are going to say, we don't need that tax. We're saying, I think, to the people of Guam, you are on your own to mitigate the housing shortage that we have, the environmental impacts, the threats to the water, the loss of habitat. You're on your own to mitigate, like we are doing right now, the effects of the hospital. This was a promise made to the people of Guam long ago, that they were going to benefit from the buildup. That was a decade ago. But now we have other ones, the military, the missile defense. And if we're going to benefit as predicted in those studies, then taxes are part of it. Yes, there are indirect benefits economically as well. But taxes were supposed to be a big part of it, a part that the government could rely on and the part that the government could use to take care of the things that in this partnership, the military was not going to take care of, and they were going to rely on the government of Guam to take care of. And my understanding of these contracts is that the taxes are paid for. And we have locally created an exemption on those contracts for subcontractors. Even before this rollback of the BPT, they were getting that privilege from the government of Guam to help them to compete for those subcontracts. And when we talk about fair, it's like, it's just, we're talking about both multi-billion-dollar companies coming to Guam, and we don't want to tax them. We had the opportunity to save companies such as $2 million or less, or $1 million or less, over $20,000 in taxes versus saving only $5,000 in taxes. But that amendment was rejected. And that amendment, or this rollback, is not applied fairly to the small businesses versus the big businesses. Because small businesses getting a $20,000 tax break or a $5,000 tax break is what they're going to get, versus a $100 million business is going to get a $500,000 tax break. A $200 million business is going to get a $1 million tax break.
Senator,
the $500
your time's up.
million businesses are right now not paying any taxes. Zero. So that is what is unfair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Chalahi. On the Sinagsin amendment, Senator Sinagsin, you'd like to close? No, I'm sorry. Senator Taitigui, I didn't see you. You have to use your hand mic?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, can I, actually, raising my hand?
Sure. Senator Perez, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Senator Taitigui.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiments of the retiring speaker. There are so many impacts to the military buildup that we are left hanging with. When we talk about housing alone, a lot of the contractors are going inside the fence because they're attracted to the higher yield of these contracts, leaving us at a lack of housing, a lack of affordable housing. The environment, when we talk about contamination of our environment, there are so many Superfund sites as a result of the military's presence here on Guam that have yet to be cleaned up. And then their continual use of our land and the toxics that they bring into Guam in huge amounts. There's definitely a legacy, an environmental toxic legacy, in addition to what's currently happening today. They still engage in open detonation of military munitions that release forever chemicals into the air, into our waters, and into our food chains. That has impacted the health of our people. They've destroyed hundreds of native forests that took millennia to develop on our island, and that has given us our uniqueness. And to say that they're being discriminated, I think we need to be reminded that we are the ones that are being discriminated in our own land. We have been kicked off by eminent domain from our ancestral lands that has left a scar for generations. So who is being discriminated against in our own home, the birthplace of the Chamorro people? These companies did not ask for a rollback. How ignorant are we? How blind are we to forget our people, our history. PARs, they were not included in the RICA program. Atomic radiation from the Marshall Islands drifted to Guam. And they were told, the guy detecting the radiation at the time was told to be quiet. He thought it was an attack by the Russians, but he realized it was a cover-up. He wanted to warn the Chamorro people of the dangers they faced in drinking the water that was collected from their roofs. Who is discriminating? Who's the one that's being discriminated? We do not deserve to devalue ourselves. We do not deserve to treat ourselves like our colonizer has treated us. And if you look at the financial part of it, the public auditor stated that we are missing tens of millions of dollars that we could have collected from military contractors. Our island has the power to develop our own tax system, to charge taxes. And why are we preventing ourselves from gaining, or at least mitigating, the harm? I think this is the least we can do as far as supporting this, by supporting this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think about the rhetoric of the military buildup from years ago. And I remember on one side of the aisle, there were people who were saying that the military buildup would stress our local assets, put a lot of wear and tear on our roads and our public services, our institutions. But there were people on the other side who said, all those things are true, but the benefits would far outweigh the negatives because of all the benefits the military buildup would bring. One of those, chiefly, was the tax benefits that the military buildup would bring. And now we're here in a position where these tax benefits are coming in, these revenues are coming in from the military buildup. And now we choose this time as the time to cut off our legs from under us. The benefits of the military buildup are here, and now we choose to reduce our revenues. For me, that is the height of folly and irresponsibility. And even this bill, while I appreciate the proffer of the bill, and I will be supporting this amendment, I personally think it doesn't go far enough. The DOD's own studies show that this buildup is temporary. So we should take advantage of that time while it's here. Because it seems to me we are setting ourselves up now for a situation where for a decade, we are just going to cut taxes for the rich over and over and over again until we can scarcely believe the things we can do. But then when the buildup is over, we're going to find ourselves in the position now that all that extra revenue is gone and we didn't capture enough of it. And then we will be forced to raise our taxes at a time when the revenues are no longer coming in. And that just doesn't make any sense. We should be collecting now. We should be considering raising the BPT on some of the top 1%, the top 0.1%. There are some incredible amounts of wealth flowing through this island through the military-industrial complex. And it is not right. It is not right to deprive ourselves of this economic boon to our island. The reduction of the BPT, the way we're implementing it, makes no sense. I would understand the impulse to reduce the tax burden for our local businesses, for our lowest earning businesses who are struggling at the borders between the thresholds. And that would make sense to me. We've seen amendments in this body that attempted to reduce the taxes the most for those on the lower end. And all those were rejected. We accepted the provisions that gave the most benefit to the ones that needed it least, to the ones making 500 million, 400 million, 300 million, 200 million, 100 million, all these hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and we prioritize the people that are already getting the most exemptions. The top 1% of the island produce 6.3 billion out of the 9.7 billion of revenue. Just the top 1% produces about 2/3 of our BPT. And we want to give that top end the biggest cut during the time of the biggest economic boon our island will see. We have future military contracts coming in the billions for the state-of-the-art missile defense system that is available only in 3 places in the world. Guam, I believe Israel, and Washington, D.C., showing the importance and the concentration of resources here on the island. And so with that, I support this, and thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. Senator Barnett, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chair, and good evening to the people of Guam. I rise in strong support of this amendment because I think we've been very successful in communicating our desire to implement a tiered approach to the BPT reduction, and there's been a lot of criticism for that. They put words into our mouth, failed to hear exactly what we're saying, calling all the radio stations, oh, we don't know about business, don't tell the little people. Since when were millionaires little people? Which is crazy to me. I don't need to know about business to know that usually when you make more, you pay more. Called progressive tax. And the ruse is up, really. So I have friends who testified in the BPT reduction hearing, and the narrative from the proponents of the BPT reduction was that the businesses are struggling. We got to help our businesses because we raised the BPT when the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was implemented, and guess what? It's now permanent. But somehow we want to allow these big corporations to go back to paying a tax rate from 10 years ago when they've already said that it's not going to lead to lower prices. It's not going to lead to higher wages. So as one of my colleagues remarked earlier, you're still going to have people working 2-3 jobs because they're not going to enjoy in the benefits of the $80 million corporate tax discount that we are hell-bent on implementing at the expense of critical public services. So one of my friends gave me a really hard time because he was listening to what people are saying we are saying, and I told him, go watch the session. Now, this friend of mine said, wow, I didn't know that you guys tried to give the small businesses earning $2 million and under a 3% tax rate, and that you wanted to do a tiered approach so that the big DOD contractors would pay their fair share. The U.S. Department of Defense is investing $12 billion into Guam as part of the military buildup. And it's not going to last forever. And a rate of 5%, do the research, people of Guam. It's really not that bad at all for businesses that make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 7. It's staggering amounts of money. Staggering for our people who are on a Latan Kutni budget. But this is what it's all about. They want to protect the big corporations. So they pushed out this narrative that they were going to help the small businesses. But the numbers don't lie. The numbers are very clear. First of all, many of our small businesses are already enjoying a reduced BPT rate. But we wanted to bring more small businesses to the table. Because, call me crazy, but I don't know if you're making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 million, $200 million, $300 million, $400 million, a $12 billion military buildup. Why do we hate ourselves? Why do we not think that our people are worth it? I don't understand why we bend over backwards to protect huge billion-dollar corporations that are receiving awards of 500 million, 600 million. I just don't understand it. It makes sense to tax the big dollar corporations at a higher rate, and the people of Guam see it. So we're fighting for equity, fighting for fairness, fighting for our people. But they see who some of my colleagues are fighting for. And it's big, multi-million, billion-dollar corporations that don't need anyone to defend them. Good evening, my dear people of Guam. Situs Masi.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Anyone else on the Retiree amendment? Senator Retiree, you'd like to close? Oh, Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, colleagues, I rise to oppose this amendment because it does not withstand basically the test of logic, parity, and, of course, federal law. First of all, on logic, we cannot, on one hand, say we want to attract federal investment into Guam, build our economy, and create good-paying jobs for our people, yet on the other hand, impose punitive taxes, specifically targeting those very contractors. You know, these federal contractors are not just outside companies. They're the ones that are building our schools, upgrading our hospital, modernizing our power grid, maintaining the military installations to support thousands of Guam families. If we single them out, we are discriminating in taxation. It will drive up costs, delay projects, and ultimately hurt the people we represent. Secondly, Mr. Chair, on parity, every company doing business in Guam should be treated equally under our tax laws. To carve out one category, federal contractors, and tax them differently is not only bad economic policy, it creates an uneven playing field. Local businesses who partner with federal contractors will also feel the effects. Fairness and parity mean that we cannot adopt the tax code that punishes one sector simply because of who their client is. Third, and I think the most important on federal law, it's illegal and Guam as a territory to discriminate against federal contractors in this way. The Supremacy Clause, as eloquently stated, of course, by Senator Gumatauta, the U.S. Constitution is clear. Local laws cannot stand in conflict with federal law. Case law has repeatedly shown that states and territories cannot single out federal contractors for desperate treatment. If we pass this amendment, we not only are inviting litigation, we are guaranteeing litigation will happen. And every dollar spent defending an indefensible law is a dollar that could have gone to our hospitals, to our schools, and to our people, Mr. Chairman. You know, in closing, colleagues, this is not about whether you like or dislike federal contractors. This is about respecting the rule of law, maintaining parity in our tax system, and ensuring Guam continues to benefit from billions of dollars in federal investment. Passing this amendment would be illogical, unfair, and illegal. And I urge you to vote no. So with that, again, Chairman, you know, we just want to be fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. Anyone else on the Tadigui amendment? Senator Tadigui, you can close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. And thank you to those who spoke in favor of this amendment. Thank you to those who've called in to the radio stations. Thank you for those who stood by logic, who stood by common sense. And thank you to those who sent me texts saying, I don't understand, Tello. They don't have to pay the 5%. Anything over $10 million is paid for by DOD. And then even if that contract is subcontracted, they can't get taxed, double taxation. So I don't understand. That business that we are trying to support on this island, our local businesses that we're trying to support on this island, to give them a break, to have them the opportunity so that they can put more money in their business to keep their staff, you know, at a good salary. I'm not worried because they don't have to pay the 5% on these military contracts. DOD pays the 5% on the contract. So think about that when you vote on this. It's common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tadigui. On the Tadigui amendment, there has been an objection. All those in favor of the Tadigui amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment passes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on amendment SFP L18P150. Senator Perez, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is actually Bill 28 that had a hearing and was passed by this body. Basically what this bill does, or what this amendment does, it includes it in the bill to, it makes some corrections in law. So first of all, there's no environmental cleanup fund. It's actually the Guam so it proposes to put monies collected from use tax into the environmental trust fund, which does exist, and it also changes the wording of director to administrator of Guam EPA. It also proposes to streamline the funding once collected to go into this environmental trust fund within 20 days upon collection. And so, again, you know, Guam EPA has been defunded by $3.8 roughly $1 million. And, you know, it's important that, you know, I think the local government fills the gap. Otherwise, we won't have this agency. So this provides hopefully a sustainable source of funding for Guam EPA. This would also align with some of the changes that have been made in regards to customs. So customs, one of the things that's taking place is we pass laws to modernize it so we can hopefully capture more of that use tax, which we know is being under collected to at least about $60 million. And, you know, Guam EPA, currently right now, it's not performing that much, but whatever we can collect is needed by Guam EPA to help cover the gaps. And so I ask for my colleagues' support in this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Perez. On the Perez Amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Perez Amendment? Senator Perez, would you like to close?
I just want to thank my colleagues for their support.
Thank you, Senator. Any objections on the Perez Amendment? No objections. Amendment passes. JAL-L18P150, Senator Lujan, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, line 18, page 150, section 43 is hereby added, chapter 12 to read as Economic Impact Study on Cabotage and Jones Act Exemption. The intent of the Estatuto ng Guåhan Estatuto is to authorize and conduct an economic impact study on the effects of cabotage and federal Jones Act on Guam's economy. The findings of such study may be used to inform future policy initiatives and to support engagement with the federal government in pursuit of an exemption from either both or both provisions. In recognition of current budgetary constraints and the need for long-term economic planning, the Estatuto further expresses its intent that the cost of the study be funded to the extent practicable through available appropriations within this act and through funds of autonomous agencies of the government of Guam as mutually agreed. And the funding notwithstanding any other provision of law, the expenditure of the funds in the amount not to exceed $400,000 is hereby authorized for the purpose set forth in subsection A of this section. Such funds may be drawn from appropriations provided in the act subject to the governor's transfer authority or from available funds of autonomous agencies of the government of Guam at each agency's discretion, pursuant to the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, provided for the transfer of the funds to the Guam Economic Development Authority, which shall serve as the administrating agency in conducting the study. Every effort shall be made to utilize the expertise and resources of the University of Guam. And Mr. Chairman, you know, and colleagues, for years, we on Guam have been asking the federal government for an exemption from the restriction of cabotage and the Jones Act. We've raised the issue in Washington. We've had conversations here at home, resolution after resolution. Legislature after legislature, we've all felt the burden of these laws placed on our economy, our cost of living, and the competitiveness of our island. But here's the challenge. We've been making these arguments without hard data that is needed to back them up. Washington makes a decision based on facts, figures, and analyses, not just anecdotes or frustration. What this amendment seeks to do is simple. Let's finally commission an economic impact study that tells us in black and white, in which it will show what the Jones Act and cabotage means for Guam's families, our businesses, and our economy, and also the military who chime in on this as well. This isn't just another report to collect dust. It is the foundation that we need if we are serious about pressing our case for the exemption. With real numbers in hand, we can strengthen our position, engage the federal government with credibility, and move beyond years of simply asking without results. With that, Mr. Chair, I urge my colleagues to vote positively in favor of this amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. On the Lujan Amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator, you wish to close?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this amendment is about giving Guam the tools we need to fight for ourselves. For too long, again, we have been at a disadvantage when it comes to cabotage and the Jones Act, and yet we've never had a comprehensive study to show the true impact. If we want to convince Washington to take us seriously, we have to put the facts on the table. That's what this study will provide, and by structuring it so that the funding can be drawn from existing appropriations or through partnerships with other autonomous agencies and the University of Guam, we are being fiscally responsible while still taking a critical step forward. So colleagues, again, thank you for your support. So let's stop spinning our wheels and start building the evidence we need to finally make our case known. Again, Guam deserves no less. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. On the Lujan Amendment, any objections? No objections? Amendment passes. Next amendment, WAP L6 P137. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized, sir. WAP L6P137.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm not seeing that one. I'm seeing different numbers for my amendments.
WAP L9P149.
Oh, okay, I see it. That's regarding section 41. L9P149?
Okay, stand by. L20P145, you got that one?
L20P145, I do have that one.
Okay. You're recognized on that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is to delete section 35 of chapter 12 of the bill. And the reason for this is, you know, I'm not going to read the letter again from the legal community. I don't need to belabor that point. But there's clearly some concerns regarding some of these provisions. And they've mentioned at least 3 of them. But I'm comfortable removing these 2 provisions because they are brand new provisions that have never had a public hearing or have been really litigated in public. And with the concerns we're getting from so many people in the legal community and some of my own concerns with the practices of the Office of the Attorney General, I think it's best if we have this conversation in the daylight, in the public hearing room with the people of Guam watching, with everybody getting to make their case. Otherwise, we could be setting ourselves up to have to come back in here and fix this problem. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask my colleagues to repeal this section 30, or the section 35 and section 41, and let's have this conversation properly. With that, I yield the rest of my time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On the Parkinson Amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Tidigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak on this amendment that I do not stand in support of and object to this amendment. And I understand the situation of the previous speaker, you know, concerned about this, but this is important to put into this this section into the Attorney General's office to give him the authority to hire individuals. Once again, I can't stress enough that this is an elected official's office, and the need and importance of having the support staff for our Attorney General doing hundreds of cases, let alone thousands of procurement processes. In fact, you know, when there's an emergency on signing a procurement, when somebody drops it off in only 5 days and expect the Attorney General to sign off on something without having the manpower and then having them stripped from, you know, employees taken from his office, taken away to another office. I mean, just leaving him with nobody there. At least with this, it allows the Attorney General to provide, you know, employment without having to go through all the bureaucracy. Now, this position, it says, the Attorney General shall set the salaries for positions with salaries, but not unless there is an appropriation. And who appropriates to the Attorney General is this body. Who scrutinizes the Attorney General's budget? It's this body. Who answers to us is the Attorney General on who he hires, how many attorneys he needs, and he constantly tells us of his issues that he's having. And if we want a safe environment on this island, then we need to continue to support the Attorney General.
and what he's doing right now. Our DOC is getting really full, and I don't know why people will complain about that, only because we need a bigger prison or a better prison. But he's doing his job. And why are we continuing trying to cripple his office is beyond me. So I have to respectfully object to this amendment.
Anyone else wish to speak on the Parkinson amendment? Senator Parkinson, you'd like to close?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, looking at this language here, the Attorney General shall set the salaries for positions for which salaries are not set by law, and he basically gets a free rein to hire unclassified employees. In any other executive agency department, we would not stand for this. What this amendment does, and it's doing this at a time when there is an all-time low trust in government, that we want to give them more hiring authority for unclassified positions with no real oversight, when this Attorney General is hiring his family members, filtering his employment with loyalty as his primary currency, and not loyalty to the law or to the people of Guam or to the Constitution or to the Organic Act. He wants to hire people that are loyal to him, citing people like John F. Kennedy hiring his own brother as justification for him doing the same. And honestly, that's just kind of gross. That really is. If this bill, if this provision is so needed, then let's have the conversation in the daylight, talking about it openly. Because there has been no real oversight on the Attorney General. Meth found in his office, hiring family members willy-nilly, these absurd signs all over the world talking about hot girl summer. Like, is that what we're spending our taxpayer dollars on? I spoke to OFB. They got $8 million, $7 million in lapse funds, with the justification being that they want to hire more unclassified people during this next year, which just happens to coincide with an election year. Go figure. And so I come at this bill with an awful lot of skepticism. And I don't think it's justified to sneak in this provision in the dead of night at nearly midnight on the last day of budget hearings. It's just not right. And so I would ask, and we're also talking about repealing other sections that were in last year. That was something that the legal community asked for, because it is of their opinion that the Attorney General is abusing some of those provisions so he can hire employees while violating principles of merit. There are so many question marks about the practices of the Attorney General and what kind of house he's running over there, that I feel a great deal of trepidation giving this kind of power to the Attorney General, especially at the protest of so many people of our legal community who come from all stripes, all economic backgrounds, all party affiliations. They are united in this message. I certainly wouldn't support giving the Attorney General these blank checks if all it's going to lead is to more family members being hired. So I ask this body to pump the brakes on this Attorney General who is just doing whatever he wants with very little oversight, And does anybody feel safer at home? Does anybody feel like crime has improved under this Attorney General? I certainly don't. I've been to some of these. I've been to too many situations where things as basic as protecting our neighborhoods and cleaning up our streets gets politicized. And I fear that opening up these floodgates for capricious hiring and protections and guarantees based on loyalty to an official rather than loyalty to principles and to the rule of law, I think is just a step in the wrong direction, and it's going to make our island that much more chaotic when we politicize the process this way. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. On the Parkinson Amendment, there's been an objection. All those in favor of the Parkinson Amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment fails. The next amendment is WAP L9 P149. Senator Parkinson, I'm sorry. Yeah, Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm disappointed that we are passing legislation for the Attorney General in the dead of night. And so I don't expect that we're going to have much success with this amendment. It's really disappointing. All we're calling for is accountability here, especially with the great outcry for our legal community. But it's clear that based on partisan lines, they're going to protect one another. I got great questions about the impartiality of the oversight on this Attorney General from this body. I've seen news reports in the news that the Attorney General is actively trying to, represent members of this body in trial using resources of the Attorney General. And I think that that puts great amounts of conflict, that we are giving expanded powers and carte blanche spending to the Attorney General. And I got to ask why. What are we doing here? Are we... I won't go there. But it stinks. It stinks to high heaven, and we already know that this Attorney General trades in loyalty. And with his providing of legal services, I'm sure he's buying a lot of it. And I am hoping that the body can see some reason. And forgive me, my people of Guam, it's very, very late over here. Like I was saying, we are trying to pass these provisions, opening up the floodgates for corrupt hiring practices in the dead of night. And that should tell you everything you need to know about this process when it comes to the Attorney General. I think that because of some people's animosity for the administration, that they are okay with the lawlessness of the Attorney General and his expansion of powers that we have had no public hearing over. Just like the rollback of this BPT, it's just being shoved into this budget bill in the dead of night without any consideration from what we're hearing from the community. And so I hope the people of Guam watch how this body conducts itself in this budget season and remembers that when they get to the ballot box. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. On the amendment, Senator Titlewood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just respectfully object, and I take offense to some of the comments that was made by the previous speaker. He doesn't know the situation of the case that I'm in right now, and that I'm supposedly, all of us is supposedly an agency. And what does the Attorney General do? He defends the agencies that I have been told I am, which, by the way, all of you guys are agencies as senators, but, you know, which we're trying to debate that in court right now. So other than that, Mr. Chair, I just respectfully object to this amendment because it helps keep the classified employees protected at the AG's office right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Titlewood. Anyone else on the Parkinson amendment? Senator Parkinson, would you like to close, sir?
Yes, sir. I just want to read a quote from the Guam Daily Post when it comes into regards to legal representation by the Attorney General when it comes to members of this chamber. And I quote, the senator was first represented by private counsel, but representation was later switched to the OAG. And so, look at that, I have to wonder, what are we doing having the Attorney General provide legal counsel for his oversight? We are a separate branch of government. And this fraternization is, I believe, a violation of the separation of powers. We have the separation of powers not only to protect the integrity of the system, but also so that when people observe the system, they can have a high degree of confidence that the system is impartial, that people are hired by merit, and that oversight will not be bought over with free legal services. And I can't help but think of what this is going to lead our island of Guam to seeing. Are we going to see a flood of millions of dollars of taxpayer money put out in the form of these garish signs, debasing our island with airing out our dirty laundry that way, embarrassing the families and the people living on this island? These people have families, and we're putting our own people on blast with these gaudy signs. And everybody in this chamber, we've all put up political signs. We know how much these cost. When you see those signs out there, my people of Guam, signs about hot girl summer, remember, you paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 for that sign. And with some of the lapses we've allowed for the Attorney General, I suspect we're going to see a lot more signs and a lot more hiring of unclassified employees, all to help him campaign for re-election. Over 70 people at the Attorney General's office was hired. And for what? Our people don't feel safe. The only people feeling safe right now are cronies of the Attorney General who, if they bend the knee and give their loyalty to this man, will be protected. Now, Not only will they be protected, they will be protected so long as they work for him. They will be classified employees until the day he no longer works for them. Do you hear how absurd this is, my people of Guam? We are passing provisions that allow him to hire unclassified workers at his leisure, but also give them classified protection while they work for him. All sorts of, while avoiding the mired system completely. Just a complete bastardization of our system. So I hope that this amendment will pass, but with the way the last one went, I have very little hope. But with that, I ask my colleagues for the support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. On the Parkinson amendment, there's been an objection. All those in favor of the Parkinson amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment fails. The next amendment, VAB L18P150. Senator Borja, you're recognized. All right. We're going to amendment SVC L18P150 IV. Senator Calvo, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I rise with Ranking Member Senator Barnes to jointly proffer an amendment to Chapter 12 that affirms our commitment to language revitalization and cultural stewardship by appropriating 138,000 to Ikomisyon Ifino Chamorro Jan Finanaguan Historia Jan Ilinala Tautautano. This appropriation is drawn from fiscal year 2025 net unobligated excess revenues and is designated for operational support. The fund shall not lapse and will remain available until fully expended. The Commission plays a vital role in advancing Chamorro language fluency, supporting curriculum development, and guiding public institutions in the respectful use of our native language. Per the Office of Finance and Budget, Mr. Chair, we were informed that the Commission currently has $76,000 in available funding. We've deducted that amount from the original request of $214,000 and arrive at the proposed amendment total of $138,000. This ensures that the Commission's staffing and programming needs are met without duplication or excess. Mr. Chair, to add a new section to Chapter 12, miscellaneous provisions of the bill to read, appropriation to Ikomisyon Ifino Chamorro Jan Ifinanaguan Historia Jan Ilinala Tautautano. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the sum of $138,000 is appropriated from the fiscal year 2025 net unobligated excess revenues to Ikomisyon Ifino Chamorro Jan Ifinanaguan Historia Jan Ilinala Tautautano for its operations. This appropriation shall not lapse and shall continue to be available until fully expended. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Calvo. Anyone to speak on the Senator Ranking Member Barnes, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I promise I'll make this pass. I support the efforts of this amendment and thank the good author from Barrigada Heights for proffering it as it shows a commitment to the Commission Ifino Chamorro, Jani Pananaguan Historian, Jani Linatla, Tautautano. It just gives the commitment that this august body is supporting the efforts of what the Commission is doing to preserve, perpetuate, and to advocate for our Chamorro language, our history, our just everything Chamorro. Sanamasi.
Thank you, Ranking Member Barnes. Anyone else who wish to speak on the amendment? Senator Calvo would like to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respectfully urge, along with Ranking Member Senator Tina Muñoz Barnes, we respectfully urge support for this amendment and thank our colleagues for recognizing it, the enduring value of e-commission work. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Calvo. On the Calvo amendment, any objections? No objections. Senator Borja, on VABL18P150, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, hopefully my colleagues have read this amendment. So it's pretty lengthy, but the intent really here is to pretty much require the Department of Education to put together a fiscal execution and accountability plan. The intent here obviously is to work with them closely to ensure that they monitor their expenses, track deliverables, and establish KPIs to ensure that they're spending money, their appropriation based on their plan. Anything, if there are any changes to their plan, it'll require them to work with the board. And then the other thing too is I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I feel like my brain is not working. Can I get a recess, Mr. Chair? I'm like forcing it out of my head. But Mr. Chair, really the goal of this is to require the Department of Education to work closely with the board and the legislature to ensure that they're spending their money. And they came in here and asked for money the other day, or pleading for the 317. We know they lapse every year. So this is to ensure that if they're saying they need the money, we'll give them, spend the money they have. If they're about to run out, it also establishes the criteria for when the superintendent should declare a fiscal emergency, because that was one of the things earlier in my term. Whenever they said I needed more money and I declared an emergency, and then the speaker would say that's not an emergency. So this is going to establish that, and I ask my colleagues for their support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Borja. On the Borja amendment, anyone wish to speak? Senator Borja, would you like to close, sir?
No, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, I'd just like my colleagues, request my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Borja. On the Borja amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. On the next amendment, ESG L7P143, Senator Gumtalta, you recognize, sir.
Good morning in Magaʹhågan, Mr. Chairman. I think it is morning already. This amendment is to add a new W to Section 27 of Chapter 12 of the bill. It's for positions within the Department of Chamorro Affairs for the sole purpose of the Guam Cultural Repository operations until classified positions are created, recruited, and filled pursuant to 4 GCA Chapter 4 Personnel Policy and the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Chair, this is, as they know that we're here in session, and as we are, this is a really 11th hour help to support the Department of Chamorro Affairs. They are, trying to get things operated with the repository, and this is just a way to get them some help, especially as we head into the new fiscal year. And I ask my colleagues to support the amendment.
Thank you, Senator Gumtalta. Ranking Member Barnes, you're recognized.
Sidzuis Masi, Mr. Chair, and Manana Sidzuis. And thank you to my colleague from God's country for proffering this amendment and allowing me to be a part of that. This is a solution to keep our repository open and not allow a delayed HR process to result in the closure of the Guam Cultural Repository. When I toured this facility, I was honored to see the great care these employees are showing to our historic artifacts and our ancestors. It would be a huge shame if it closed simply because the creation of classified positions to staff the repository was not finished by the start of the next fiscal year, even if we as senators are not responsible for this closure. The sponsor of this amendment recognizes that we have the ability to prevent the closure and rightly added language that limits unclassified hires at the Department of Chamorro Affairs only for the repository and only until DOA is finished with creating these classified positions. And I encourage everyone to tour the repository and to see the rich and vibrant history of our people, from pottery to jewelry, from sling stones to spear tips. Anyone who sees these critical work firsthand will be better off for it, because they will see that our culture and our history are not just some academic information, but are tangible and real. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me speak and rise in support of this effort, and thank the good senator from Chalafofo, God's country, for this amendment. Sana Masi.
Thank you, Ranking Member Barnes. Anyone else would like to speak on the amendment? Senator Gumatauta, would you like to close?
No, Mr. Chair, but again, I ask my colleagues to support this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On the Gumatauta amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. We're on the last amendment of Chapter 12, and it is TMT L18P150, which is withdrawn. Colleagues, that concludes Chapter 12. Chapter 12 is closed. Colleagues, we're on Chapter 13. Senator Taitigui, your amendment is up first. TTT L1P158-159.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I proffer this amendment and I rise. Well, like Mr. Guåhan, let me just get my bearings in place. Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may again, thank you for that small pause. I rise today to proffer a series of amendments to Section 8 of this bill. These amendments are rooted in a simple but virtual principle. Fiscal responsibility, flexibility must always be balanced with legislative oversight and accountability to the people we serve. Section 8, as written, would increase the governor's transfer authority from the historical norm of 15% to an unprecedented 50% of the general fund executive branch appropriation. This is a dramatic shift of budgetary control away from the legislature, and it opens the door to wholesale wholesale redirection of funds from programs and priorities that this body has carefully considered and approved during this budget process. Mr. Speaker, this legislature has never and should never make a decision in the budget bill to simply give away such a significant part of our core responsibility. Our constitutional role is to decide how the people's money is raised and spent. That means making the hard decisions about priority, balancing competing needs, and being directly accountable to the people of those choices. We cannot shy away from the responsibility of passing it off to the governor. My amendments are designed to preserve emergency responsiveness while restoring the balance of power between the executive and the legislative branches. So in the first line, line 3, page 152, we reduce the cap from 50% to 25%. And here I'm seeing just, a leeway when it's historically, like I said, always been 15%. At least I'm coming to a halfway mark here, making it 25%. And line 10, page 150, we strengthen the reporting requirements. Right now, the fine of failing to report transfers is just $250, a token amount when millions could be shifted. We increased that fine to $1,000 and required that all transfer reports be posted publicly on BBMR website. If these transfers are truly in the public interest, the public should be able to see them. Third, line 12, page 158, we add a safeguard. We add a safeguard for large transfers. Any single transfer over $500,000 must be reported to this body before it is executed with a short waiting period, except in true declared emergencies.
This ensures transparency without tying the governor's hands when urgent action is needed. Fourth line 14, page 158, we expand the list of agencies protected from the mid-year fund sweep. Agencies like public health, behavioral health, correction, police, and fire department provide essential services that should never be left vulnerable, having their operating budgets rated to pay for unrelated priorities. Fifth, line 22, page 158, we clarify that this transfer authority cannot be used in funds from special capital improvement projects within legislative approval. We also require that transfer reports include the source, destination, justification, and impact on the source agency operations. These are common sense disclosure requirements. Finally, line 8, page 159, we add a sunset clause, which we grant a higher transfer cap for FY2026. It will be for FY26 only. It will automatically revert to the prior limit next year unless the legislature chooses to renew it. That ensures that this is a temporary measure and not a permanent shift in the balance of power. Mr. Speaker, these amendments are not about denying the governor the ability to respond to emergency or potential shortfall. They're about ensuring that such power is exercised with transparency, accountability, and respect for the priorities of the people's branch of government. We were elected to make the tough calls on budgets, not to hand off the responsibility. I ask my colleagues to support these amendments so that we can provide flexibility where it's needed while protecting the integrity of the budget process and the programs our people rely on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tide-Agüe. On the Tide-Agüe amendment, Chairman Dueñas, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I object to this amendment. And one of the primary reasons for moving this amendment really is unprecedented situation where we are doing something that we believe is absolutely true and effective in terms of giving our people back and our businesses back their money that we've taken for 7 years in the 1% BPT increase. We need to make sure that we don't have any excuses in terms of what happens when the governor may have to, from time to time, deal with issues associated with revenues that become increasingly tight, if they even do. But the most important thing, Mr. Chair, is what we do here is we create a situation whereby we have additional opportunities for money to be transferred into areas that the governor herself has supported in terms of GVB initiatives, in terms of every single time we've been here, Mr. Chair, when they've come down and we talk about transfer authority to the GMH, we can't do that because they're a special entity. Excuses after excuses in terms of not being able to properly manage cash and be able to help where the help is needed. Mr. Chair, I believe that in closing on this amendment and my objection, it was really rich when we had our exchange. I had my exchange, and I'm okay with that, with the fiscal team when they came down talking about how we have adopted, Mr. Chair, we've adopted the same revenue now as the governor. And yet the sky's falling. Disaster's going to happen. You didn't fund this. You didn't fund that. There's not enough for this or not enough for that. No, the tough work? Where was the tough work? Where was the tough work? We knew that we identified enough revenue to be able to handle this first phase of the implementation and production of BPT. Yet, right now, we've piled on appropriations. Yes, they have sources, but we don't want to give that one final tool. The one final tool to transfer funds. Mr. Chair, we had the fiscal team come down and brag that they haven't had to do any transfer because they've been so flush with cash. I guarantee you they're transferring all over the place right now in this last 6 weeks, 5 weeks of the fiscal year. You know, one of the reasons why, Mr. Chair, that I went through that whole exercise with over 40 years experience with Mr. Guerrero was because I know, because I've operated agencies, medium and otherwise, that what happens is, we talk about this transfer authority. What happens is agencies normally will be allowed to spend to a certain level. And those that need to spend at that level even longer, they'll let them go. They'll let them go. Because everything's front-loaded in the front. When you get your new budget, it's brand new. It's like your brand new car. As you go down, you need maintenance over the years. And as you go to the end, you might need to do engine repair, transmission repair. But it's a front loading of that opportunity that gives you that, and then they can adjust throughout. They may need to adjust earlier. The cash is there, but they may need to adjust in certain areas. Flexibility is the key to this budget as we drafted it. And the bottom line is that we don't want excuses either. I couldn't help the hospital. I couldn't make sure that some of those programs that we wanted to do couldn't go forward. So it's not about not doing the hard work. The reserve fund that was hoisted on us with education, they didn't do the hard work. They forced it on us. Susan Masi, Mr. Chair, I object to this amendment.
Thank you, Chairman Dueñas. On the Retiree amendment, anyone else would like to speak on it? Senator Retiree, would you like to close? Okay. On the Retiree amendment, there's an objection. All those in favor of the Retiree amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Amendment fails. Ranking Member Tina Rose Winya-Barnes, your amendment is up. L9 P162, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this amendment is on line 9, page 162, to add a new W to section 11, chapter 13 of the bill to read W, Guam Board of Accountancy. The Guam Board of Accountancy Fund. This amendment is very simple, Mr. Chair. It will address a concern by the Board of Accountancy that their appropriation based on special fund it generates is not a true reflection of its cost or collections. By adding the Guam Board of Accountancy and the Guam Board of Accountancy Fund to this list, this board will be allowed to spend all the money it generates, even when it ends up being in excess of the adopted levels in Chapter 1 of this bill. I ask for my colleagues to support so that we can contribute to the success of this important regulatory body. And also, Mr. Chair, to allow legal and the clerk to make the technical corrections if necessary or when necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranking Member Barnes. Anyone wish to speak on the amendment? Would you like to close? On the Barnes amendment, any objection? No objection. Next amendment is VAA P168. Chairman Dueñas, you're recognized.
Susan Masi, Vice Speaker and Chairman, I move this amendment on behalf of yourself, and it is on page 168 to add a new section to Chapter 13, Part 2, Department of Parks and Recreation of the bill to read, unexpended funds from prior year, unexpended appropriated funds available for Department of Parks and Recreation in prior fiscal years shall not lapse and shall be available in fiscal year 2026. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, Mr. Vice Chair. I said we consider this amendment.
On the amendment, anyone like to speak? Would you like to close?
No need to close, Mr. Vice Speaker. Great amendment, and I'm glad it's going to pass.
Thank you. On the ADA amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Next amendment is VAA P168II. I wrote this amendment out of order as this was a similar amendment that was passed. Next amendment, VAA P168III. Once again, I rule this amendment out of order as this was previously passed. Next amendment is VAA P168 IV. And again, I rule this amendment out of order as this amendment was passed. The last amendment for Chapter 13 is VAA P168V. Chairman Dueñas, you're recognized.
Jesus Masi, Mr. Vice Speaker and Chairman, I move this amendment on behalf of yourself, and is on page 168 to add a new section to Chapter 13, Part 2, Department of Public Works, DPW, Guam Contractors Licensing Board, Guam Board of Registration of Professional Engineers and Architects, and Land Surveyors, PEELS, otherwise known as. Unexpended funds from prior year fiscal years, unexpended appropriated funds available to the Department of Public Works, Guam Contractors Licensing Board, CLB, and the Guam Board of Registration of Professional Engineers, Architects, and Land Surveyors, PEELS, in prior fiscal years shall not lapse and shall be available in fiscal year 2026. And I ask our colleagues to please vote in support of this amendment proffered by yourself, Mr. Vice Speaker and Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone would like to speak on the amendment? No one? Senator Chairman, would you like to close?
I would waive closing and thank you for the good amendment, sir.
Thank you. On the ADA amendment, any objections? No objections. Amendment passes. Colleagues, this concludes Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is closed.
I had a motion. I didn't realize you were going to gavel down. If I could add an amendment. Can I do a notwithstanding motion to go back to Chapter 13?
There's a motion
Or reconsider the actions of the body?
Notwithstanding the House rules.
Yes, notwithstanding the House rules.
Any objections? No objections. Senator Metanani, you're recognized.
Yes, I wanted to add an amendment. I'm not sure if it was uploaded or what to the drive, but I have it. I can read it out.
Senator Metanani, you can read it out.
Okay. This is to add a new section to Chapter 13, appropriation of excess business privilege tax collections from prior fiscal years owed to the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Pharmaceuticals Fund to the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, notwithstanding any other provision of law, the sum of $10,926,200 representing excess business privilege tax collections from prior fiscal years owed to the GMHA Pharmaceuticals Fund is hereby appropriated to the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority for purposes authorized by subsection 26208, Article 2, Chapter 26 of Title 11, Guam Code Annotated.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Tidy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this is very substantial, and it's a huge amount. For us not to have it in front of us, I know we're all tired, but this is something that we need to
We'll take a 1-minute
look-
recess.
Thank you.